The rest because you tried to run. Yes, 24601.
My name is Jean Valjean.
And I'm Javert.
Hello and welcome to the Warp Shelf. I'm Frank Duran.
I'm Deshaun Vasquez.
And today we're talking about something that's very important and true to me, musicals. I'm a big musical guy, which is weird to say, but it's something that I was in high school. I was in a lot of plays and musicals. I was in Guys and Dolls, Wizard of Oz, and a few others. And I wrote one in high school. I wrote Nazis Don't Dance, basically a thing off of the producers. And basically, I have always loved musicals. I have always... It's a big thing in my family. Like, my grandmother introduced me to every Fred Astaire and Ginger Rogers movie there was out there. And, like, it's something that I feel a lot of people don't appreciate as much, but there is a select few that love the musicals.
Certainly. As far as, like, where I stand on it, it's one of those things where, like, I always sort of dipped my toe in when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And have just kind of learned to appreciate it more and more as I get older.
Yeah.
So I've always, like, never had a dislike for musicals. I mean, how can you? If you grow up with Disney, like, you don't, even if you don't want to admit it.
Yeah, which pretty much everybody's grown up with Disney. And we will get to talking about Disney as a musical. I feel like it's a whole category. But we're basically going to go through a bunch of movie musicals because there is a limited number of them. To be fair, it is one of those genres of movies that has flourished at times and
then dissipated in others.
And right now we're in a time where movie musicals happen, but it's not like oh boy, I can't wait for the next movie musical. Like, you know, like it's not...
it seems to be like there's one that stays popular for a bit and then it's just kind of silence, and then when it does come back... I
feel like The Greatest Showman brought back a lot of people to musicals. I feel like everyone was like, wait, we can make money off of musicals again? Fuck! They were like, we can do it, run now! Like, and that's basically it, is that people love musicals because musicals make money. Musicals make people feel happy, and that's why you get so many musicals being adapted into movies, because it's a surefire thing, or so they think.
And then... on the turn side, why do people not like it?
It's because people, I feel like for musicals, it's mostly a suspension of disbelief. If you can believe that these people will stop for a second and sing and it's not fucking weird, then you enjoy musicals.
Which I suppose is a fair assessment, but it's just like, of all the ridiculous things that happen in movies spanning many different genres, is it really so implausible that someone would stop and sing for a second? Like, I love that that's sort of the thing that, like, crosses the line. That would never happen in movies. Like, yeah, there are a lot of things that don't happen in movies, bruh.
Yeah, exactly. And what's weird about musical movies, especially, is because we are taking a play, a musical which is usually on stage, and we are putting it on screen, which can be... a challenge, and obviously is for a lot of these movies. A lot of these movies here, there's a lot of great movie musicals, but there's a lot of flops here. There's a
and
lot
there are
of
ones that like work on the stage that didn't work to film.
Exactly,
because it is
I've
another
seen a
adaptation
lot
process.
of plays on stage. I'm not a guy who goes to Broadway all the time. I've only seen a few actually on Broadway. I saw How to Succeed in Business.
I don't think I've never actually been to like an actual stage show.
No?
Any like musical that I have interest in watching in the stage, and it's very few because usually I'm good enough with the movies unless I hear like, oh, the movie sucked.
Yeah.
I'll usually just find it by other means, like maybe they like record it as a movie, or maybe it's like on YouTube or something. And because they ain't cheap to go to.
No, they ain't cheap to go.
Like that.
They ain't cheap to go to. I've usually found deals or some other weird thing.
Yeah, you have to like be in the know.
Yeah. And I really do love musicals, and I've seen a bunch, and I will talk about the ones I've seen in person when we get to them. But basically, I am a huge musical fan, so movie musicals, whenever they come out, I'm pretty excited about them. I'm definitely like, and I usually prefer if a Disney movie will have a few songs instead of not, because I feel like it's a dying art and it should be preserved a little, you know, like it's just like, hey.
Tell that to 2D animation in the West, Frank.
Yeah, right, jeez. It's true. But basically, I feel like musicals are you will either like them or love them, or absolutely fucking hate them.
Yeah, it's
you know,
like you either like it or you like really hard
yeah,
no.
you're like, that's a hard no for me,
Yeah.
dog. You know, like, and I get that feeling, but also I feel like as much as everything else, there is a musical for everybody, and there like we said before, there's comic book for everybody. There's an anime for everybody. There's a musical for everybody, even if it seems ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, and I mean, mostly that could just be like people be like, oh, well, here's Hamilton. And you're like, oh, what the fuck?
I think when it leans towards a specific genre or it leans more towards comedy, I tend to find that that's an in for people. Just like, I don't usually like musicals, but you know, these songs are making
These
me
are
laugh
pretty
my ass
funny, yeah.
off, so I like it now.
Yeah, exactly. And that's how they get you. They make you laugh, and then all of a sudden you're singing along, and then fuck, you're
Or if
in.
they like lean to a specific genre that you already have like biases towards, they're just like, yeah, but I love these types of movies. They just happen to sing this.
And that's
time.
the great thing about musicals is that it can be a genre film of its own and be a musical.
Exactly.
You know, like that's what's so much fun about them. So now let's start our list. We have a whole list that we
Whole
wrote
list,
up.
always going by a
We're
list.
just going to skip some, but if we miss some that you guys want us to talk about, please tweet at us, comment on Facebook.
Yeah.
Please talk to us about
There's
it.
going to be ones that we forget because this is already a big list on its own. And it's all alphabetical like usual. The first one is Annie.
Annie. So this is one I've seen on stage twice, which I don't want to admit because I don't like Annie that much.
You don't like Annie that much?
I like the movie. I really do. The movie's fine. Stage-wise, I do not like Annie, the musical, because on stage it doesn't really flow as well because you have to, like, you know, you're changing out the scenes and everything, and it just feels like you're like, okay, and then we're on to the next number, and then we're on to the next number.
So you feel like it's like telegraphed and not organic?
Yeah, and I feel like the movie, the original Annie musical movie, I'm not talking about the Jamie Foxx
The
one.
Jamie Foxx, like Wadzane Wallace
Yeah,
one. I already saw it. I don't care.
I'm not going to talk about that one. That one's bad. That one's bad too. Like,
All I heard was that there was auto-tune in it. And I was
yeah,
like,
and
I'm
you can
out.
and you could hear it.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like
It's not even like Disney remake auto-tune
No.
where they're trying to
they're
hide
like
it.
where it's Emma Watson and like they're trying to hide it a little
Yeah.
bit. No, this is like brr, you know, like you're like
Yikes.
that's weird.
No, thank you.
And but the original movie, I like it a lot. I think
so
it's
do
a
I.
nice little fairy
It's always one I
tale.
used to watch with my mom a lot whenever it was
Yeah.
like on TV.
It's nice. It's just one of those things that's funny because I've seen, if I was gonna name a musical I've seen probably the most, other than probably the Sound of Musical I've seen, but Sound of Music I've seen that too many times. It's been Annie, and it's mostly by accident. We keep like, my friend won tickets one time. We walked in one time to a theater and it was Annie. Like, you know, like it's one of those things that like we keep not meaning to go see Annie. We see Annie, and I will tell you, Annie is over fucking rated. You know, like tomorrow, I don't give a fuck. Shut up right now. Like,
What about today?
yeah, what about today? It's like it does. I mean, Tomorrow is a great. A lot of these musicals will have a one song.
Yeah,
that
they have the
stands
one
out,
that everyone knows,
and-
even if they've never seen it.
Yeah, and Tomorrow's definitely a one that transcends the musical alone. And the musical is fun, but I would rather Oliver. Are we talking? Do we bring up Oliver at some point?
Oliver's
yeah,
not on here, actually.
Oliver. Well, then we'll talk about it briefly right now. Oliver's better, and it's the same fucking thing, except it's not a little red-headed girl.
It's based on a book.
Yeah, but like I just enjoy this like actual struggle that goes on instead of Annie's story, which is just like, but what if I dreamed? And you're just like, oh yeah, okay, like, and that's kind of my
I
problem.
mean, to be
with
fair, I feel like that is just going to come up a lot. But what if I dream?
it. Yes, exactly. That's the thing about musicals; they're a little bit hopeful.
That's good. That's going to come up a lot when we get to Disney. That's just going to be the whole checklist. But what if I dream?
Yeah, what if I dreamed? All right, so what's up next? after
Blues
Annie?
Brothers.
Blues Brothers, what a great movie.
Yeah, we had talked
Like-
about this briefly when we were talking about like belated sequels and
Yeah.
how weird and clumsy and stupid Blues Brothers 2000 is.
Yeah, and you're like, why did we do this? So we were not talking about that movie. We were talking about Blues Brothers.
Yeah.
Fantastic movie. It's funny because not many of the movies on this list are pop music musicals. They, I think there's a special term for them, and I'm forgetting the term. It's on the tip of my tongue, but I can't remember it. It's when you use like pop songs instead of like original
established songs that are already like licensed out. It's called a jukebox musical.
A jukebox musical. That Blues Brothers is the highest caliber of jukebox musical. It is like not many other of these jukebox musicals actually stand up to that. Most of them feel cheap, not well done, and the songs feel not well placed.
I mean, there's another jukebox musical coming up in here that a lot of people like that I've never been a fan of.
We'll talk about it.
We'll talk about it.
But I feel like. Hold on. What is it?
It's Moulin Rouge.
Oh, jeez. Yeah, no, I don't like Moulin. Well, we'll talk about it.
Okay. You see?
Yeah, we'll talk about it. But jukebox musicals usually come out feeling cheap, and you've heard the songs before, and they don't work with the movie. And a good jukebox musical will make the songs work with the movie.
Yeah, I think because it's already established, like, licensed songs, you're already going in with, like, this inherent thing where just, like, oh, you guys couldn't even write your own songs for this?
Yeah.
You have to, like, piggyback other people's work. It feels inherently, like, lazy or cheap to do it.
But Blues Brothers does it right by bringing in the original artist to sing those songs in the movie, and that makes the entire difference. That's why Moulin Rouge is stupid, and this is cool. No, we'll talk about Moulin Rouge. There's some good things.
Yeah, we're not an M yet.
And
we're
all
still
of
a
the
B.
all the good things in that movie are Ewan McGregor. There you go. There's
more or less, yeah. And Jim Brotman. I love Jim Brotman. Anything.
But it's Blues Brothers is one of the only ones that is a jukebox musical and brings in the original artist to do it. You know, like other than Tommy, at least brings in Elton John and for his stuff and. But besides the point, this is another caliber. This is a fun movie. It's funny. It's also the only SNL movie that's good. Other than Wayne's World, I would say, and that's stretching, like.
I mean, I guess I would say so. Yeah. Me and my mom have like a soft spot for like A Night at the Roxbury.
Of course,
it's not
I knew
great.
you were gonna say that because
it's not great, but it's one
not
that, like,
a good movie.
Like, that's one we like watched.
It
a lot.
is funny.
Like I know what it is.
Yeah, like
it's just like I mean that is the skit.
Yeah, exactly. That is the skit. I'm not. Yeah, exactly. Like they're not lying to you when they made the movie. It's just kind of like, oh, okay. Like if this is the best we got. I mean,
but yeah, I would probably say Blues Brothers and Wayne's World like the only ones that have worked.
Really worked. Yeah, because MacGruber did.
All right. MacGruber's all right.
No.
MacGruber is okay.
No, you
We're
don't
not gonna
say
fight
that.
over this.
No.
I'm not going to die on this hill. It's fine. I'm not going to die on this hill for a mid-leg. It's fine.
Fine. We'll let that one slide then.
You'll eat your words when that TV series that never happens comes.
Dear God, that will never happen. But yes, Blues Brothers, and it's one of those, and it's gotta be one of Dan Aykroyd's best movies, like absolutely hands down, and John Belushi's best movie
back then, yeah,
like absolutely. And I just, if you haven't seen Blues Brothers, I absolutely say go see Blues Brothers because it's one of those that a lot of people have missing in their movies things. It's like I'll say Blues Brothers, and they'll be like, "Oh, I haven't seen that movie," and you're like, "What?" You should just spend some time and watch it. Like it'll be like listening to an album.
They made movies before the 90s, Frank?
Wait a minute.
We're getting there. We're getting that old.
I hope not. Okay, move on to something else. Unless you got something else to say about Blues Brothers.
No, you pretty much nailed it. The next one is Chicago, which, to be fair, I am kind of working off what little memory I have of it, because I remember liking it, but it's been a long time.
I was not in Chicago, but I had two family members that were in Chicago, so I've seen Chicago twice on stage.
Yeah.
And I've seen the movie musical. Chicago is a very good movie because it does a great job at adapting the musical, and feeling exactly like the musical.
I've only seen the movie for that one, but I always hear it as like one of the ones that gets a lot of accolades for like a great translation to the two different mediums.
It absolutely feels
just like it's completely faithful, but yet it still feels like it makes sense to be on film as opposed to just feeling like they just filmed the musical.
Yeah, exactly. Where you're just, and that's the thing, is it feels right in there instead of maybe some other ones maybe that don't feel right. Is Rent feels weird at times, you know, like trying to be in the real world, you know, like, and there's other things that like those other movies that they just don't get that translation right of like, this is the same exact thing on screen. And absolutely Chicago just does that. Like it's a dirty dark story that feels that also has a lot of fun to it, you know, like, and that's why it works as always a musical, and it was surprising it even worked as a movie. And it's one of those ones that you're watching going, I don't know how this is working, but it's good, you know, like,
but
you know,
it just did.
You're like, it's working. Like, it's definitely I like Chicago. Like, it's
I like it too. I just only remember so much about it. Like, I remember liking it, but it's been literal years. I saw it as a kid.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah. Makes sense. Saw it as a kid. All right.
There's the quote you put on like the cover of the Blu-ray. Saw it as a kid. I remember liking it. Put like remember italicized. I remember liking it.
The Warp Shelf podcast. I remember liking it.
All right, next one. Here comes the big one because we're into D. We're Disney.
So this is a big fucking category because we didn't want to just be like pepper them in throughout. We just want to talk about Disney in one giant
and I don't
chunk.
want to cover like, because really you could fill this with the entire Renaissance.
The entirety of it. You could literally just be like, here it is. Here's the entire.
So instead I would rather just talk about the more popular ones and just the favorites between you and I.
Yeah, so I mean there's a lot that I absolutely love. Most people will say the number one is Beauty and the Beast
and
Lion King.
Yeah.
I am absolutely I grew up loving Lion King. I'm a big Lion King fan. Music wise, I'm also a big Lion King fan. I've grown into being a big Hunchback of Notre Dame fan.
Hunchback is that one that sneaks up on you when you're older.
It's so good. Dark as fuck.
My two favorites were Aladdin and The Lion King, and then as I got older, it turned into Hunchback of Notre Dame and Beauty and the Beast and like Treasure Planet, because I think Treasure Planet's super underrated, but that one's not a musical.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's not a musical,
but that's just favorite for Disney in general.
I think The Little Mermaid has some really solid songs. You know, like I feel like it's. For what it is, it's fantastic. You know, like it gets it right.
There's a reason that like The Little Mermaid started the Disney Renaissance, like in the late '80s and early '90s.
Exactly,
and you can see it. Even if I don't think it's among the strongest of like the films in that period, there's a reason.
It's like a benchmark.
Like a trendsetter.
Yeah. What do we got? What else do we got musical wise? We got Pocahontas. Pocahontas has some great songs. Color of the Wind is.
Pocahontas has like great set pieces and animation and some really damn good songs. It's just not that great a movie.
Yeah, it's an okay movie.
Like it's got like a firm, solid skeleton with no meat on it.
Yeah, I like it.
I don't hate it,
but it's
like
definitely
Pocahontas is one that has like a lot of hate thrown towards it, especially in context of like the other Renaissance movies.
Yeah.
But it's never one I've had like an avid dislike of.
Definitely one of my favorite Disney musicals is Hercules. I love the Greek chorus. I love the like craziness of the music.
Why is there gospel music in this Greek tragedy, Frank? It's completely anachronistic. This doesn't make any sense.
No,
you're already telling me to buy into these people just singing out of nowhere, and now you can't even get the time period right. What is wrong with you?
You want to buy some watches?
Like, you want to buy a sundial?
I don't know why. I always loved Hercules.
I like Hercules.
It's because I Can Go the Distance is so fucking good.
Yeah.
There's a lot of good songs in Zero to Heroes, great. But like I Can Go the Distance, I used it to audition for several musicals.
Wow.
And so that's one of the ones that I slightly know.
And it's basically a Superman story. So
Yeah.
you're just like watching a decent
being
Superman
like,
movie.
hey,
You're watching a decent Superman movie without realizing it.
You're like, nice, pretty good. I'll take that. I feel like Tarzan's a hard one to count as a Disney musical.
I wouldn't say so, just because
it is a full musical, but they're not singing it.
Yeah, the characters don't sing it, so I don't really count it. I would just say it has a good soundtrack.
All right. I mean, yes, true.
But as far as like the big ones, like The Lion King and Aladdin, The Lion King is. I've actually always wanted to see The Lion King on Broadway.
My wife has seen it, and she saw it when she was so young, and forever has been like, "Wow, Lion King the musical is so good. I wish you could have seen it." And I'm like, "Shut the fuck up!"
It's always been one that I've like seen. It's almost the one. It's like I'm saving myself because it's always the one that I've seen. Like I've heard most of like the songs that are particular to the musical version. And because I know, like, one of them was, like, brought over to The Lion King, too, as, like, the opening
it's definitely the one where what's so interesting about Lion King, it's one of the only ones that I feel like went to musical and really flourished.
Yeah.
And, like, really became something. You know, there's Aladdin on stage and a few other ones, but they didn't completely rework the music and still nail it, you know, like, and that's what Lion King
and it's still around.
Stage.
That's the thing; it has like a sense of longevity. So that's like the one I've always actually really wanted to see on stage, and I almost because I'll watch a stage play on YouTube. I don't care because it's like it's not the
all right, you heathen.
Like,
no, I'm just kidding.
It wasn't the medium that I was brought up with. But for The Lion King, I would really like to see it, which is why I've never actually seen the whole thing like on YouTube or something. I would love to go.
It makes sense. Makes sense. I feel like I would love to see it also. It's like it's so sad with all Broadway being closed now because you're just like, I would love to go see these things with all my free time. So modern ones though, we have a few modern ones. We got Tangled, which has a few songs, which I completely forget. So
look, before we even talk about the modern ones, I feel like we did kind of glaze over like Aladdin and Hunchback of Notre Dame.
Oh yeah. I mean,
I have to draw attention to Hunchback because it's one of the more underrated inclusions in the Renaissance that never gets any credit.
No, and the musical numbers are astounding at points.
Amazing. Except A Guy Like You. That's like the one stinker, the Gargoyles song.
Yeah, it's okay.
It's like the obligatory. Here's one for the kids. It's like Fixer Upper.
Well,
Frozen.
They should not have given Jason Alexander singing a whole song, you know, but that's not.
But like the operatic numbers in Hunchback are so damn good. You can try even tell me there's a better villain song than Hellfire.
No, Hellfire's fucked.
So good. So edgy. Hunchback I get because it's one of those things where like even me as a kid was always just like, oh yeah, I like that, but I don't really remember.
Yeah, that's weird.
It.
Yeah.
I rediscovered it in high school and I'm like, this movie is fucked. I love it. It's like I rediscovered an old gem. Just like, what is this? This is nuts. Disney would never make this now.
And Aladdin is my whole childhood. I feel like Aladdin
was like my favorite for a long time.
For a very long time, Lion King and Aladdin were always my favorite. Like I always listened to.
I mean, it makes sense. Aladdin was kind of because so many of it is like compiled like the Disney princess archetype with it. The fact that Aladdin has like the male lead and it's more like an adventure. Yeah. It sort of appeals to like, oh yeah, this is the one for the boy.
This is one for the boys. I mean, would you count the Goofy movie as a Disney Renaissance musical? They do sing "Ah to Ah." Like,
that's
come
like
on,
the only time. That's like it has like that's like.
They
one
also
number.
sing. What's the other one he sings? Powerline sings one more song. He sings "Eye to Eye" and the first one.
But if Powerline's the only
it's
singer
true.
in there,
it's
I
true.
wouldn't say I do really like a Goofy movie.
I do like a Goofy.
Like
I love it.
It's very heartwarming, and I always liked watching it.
I'm just saying, one of the best soundtracks out of all of them.
I almost feel bad
movie.
because like I feel like Eye to Eye is the only thing that people remember about that film, as opposed to like the heart-wrenching speech that Goofy has about him and like his mom. You're like, this is what you should be remembering. Much as I like Eye to Eye.
Yeah. But yeah, so
now
we're not saying it's a musical.
Stuff. I agree with you about Tangled. I've seen Tangled twice. I still don't remember any songs from that.
I don't remember any
I
songs.
vaguely remember like Mother's Knows Best and more just the tune than the actual lyrics.
I don't remember any of it.
Tangled in general was just it just goes in and out.
Yeah. Moana has the perk of having Lin-Manuel Miranda, but that doesn't completely save it. It's got good songs.
Yeah.
I will give it to that, but I still think the modern Queen is going to be Frozen. I feel like Frozen and Frozen 2 are a strong contender for
and don't
or as they call it on Disney Plus for some reason, the Frozen Saga, which I was like, there's 2 fucking movies and a short film. That's not a saga. Like what the fuck?
But yeah, Frozen.
Disney
and you
wants
can,
everything to be a saga.
and you can come at me with your hype backlash bullshit because you were tired of hearing "Let It Go" every 5 minutes. But there's a reason.
There's a reason.
There's a reason that lit the world on fire. And guess what? The songs
what's funny is Frozen basically steals its plot from several things, but basically steals Let It Go and the whole plot from Wicked. Wicked is a musical, and it's still coming way, way down the line.
Yeah, everyone always made that parallel.
Yeah, that's just basically Wicked.
When Frozen was being made.
Because it's Idina Menzel.
There's a lot of parallels. It makes sense. That's actually another one that they're now only about to try and make a movie of.
It's like, what the fuck? Why did that take so long?
It's kind of too late. You should have struck while the iron was hot.
Yeah, I mean, it will do well. There's no question in my mind it will do well, but I also... Because it is a great musical. If there's a musical I love that should have been adapted by now, it is Wicked. Mm-hmm. I think Wicked's one of those ones.
But Frozen felt so right because it was like a return to a traditional Disney, a traditional princess story.
Yeah.
That felt right, but also tried to bring something new to the table, but also the songs were bangers again.
Yeah,
because for a while they would either not try to sing or it just wouldn't be that memorable.
Yeah.
I don't hate The Princess and the Frog, but
yeah,
it's sad that that's the last one to go out
Won't
with.
Won't you take a poor sinner's hand?
Friends from the Other Side.
Friends from the Other Side.
The only song worth it.
That's all I'm
film.
saying. Is that it is worth it.
That's the best thing about the entire movie is Keith David as a witch doctor.
Oh my god, it makes that movie for me because otherwise it's fine.
It's such a nothing movie otherwise, and it's a shame because that was the first last effort.
Yeah.
To be please let us do traditionally animated movies again, and then after that didn't do so well. They're no,
never again. Everyone was like, wait, no.
So but Tangled didn't really make up for that. But then Frozen really struck a chord with me. I don't care for Moana much. I've seen Moana twice. I find it really, really boring.
I like it.
I find it really boring. I don't know what it is because it doesn't do anything more inoffensive than any other Disney movie that I've done. I've seen a million times. It's not really the formula that bothers me, but something about Moana, I'm just
all right.
As far as the songs go, I mean, they're fine.
You're wrong, but
fine.
We'll let you slide for now.
They're fine.
I think the songs are really good. They are nowhere near Hamilton caliber, but they are good.
Nor are they really bringing anything new to the table when compared to others.
Yeah,
and the caveat, the big ones, just everyone loved Moana's big "I Want More" song, except I've heard the "I Want More" song in many variants, and they've all been.
That's
better.
not the one that gets me. I feel like "You're Welcome's" a stellar song. It's annoying,
it's
but
catchy.
It's stellar.
It's catchy, but
and so is what do you call it? There's the one where they sing where they're on the water. The opening song. That one's really solid. But. It's unlike Frozen, where you're what's the opening song of Frozen? Something about cutting ice?
It's called Frozen Heart.
Yeah, no one gives a shit, Deshaun.
It's called Frozen Heart.
No one gives a shit. That's what I'm telling you.
Name a single song from Moana that's not You're Welcome.
Shiny something.
Exactly. Exactly.
Okay, fine. You win this round, Deshaun.
But you won't win the war.
Okay, but I don't think we talked about Mulan a little bit there. I know we skipped a little bit, but I don't think we brought up Mulan.
I like Mulan fine.
I think Mulan has some really solid numbers.
I think its characterization and its sense of aesthetic and epic feel is more of a pull to me than its actual musical numbers. For its actual musical numbers... All
right. I think you're wrong because I'll Make a Man Out of You is top notch.
Name another song besides "I'll Make a Man Out of You."
Why do you have to do that to me? You can't do that to me because the minute somebody says name one thing, I'm like, ah. It's why I'd be terrible at game shows. It's like I can think of a billion names and titles and everything, and then the minute somebody calls on me, I'm like, but it's shame to my family, whatever the first song is.
I want to bring this up briefly as a caveat because it's surprisingly not that bad. Is The Lion King 2?
Yeah.
And
Lion King 1.5 is pretty good, even though it's not a musical.
Yeah, it's not a musical. It's just like a funny MST3K type comedy. Yeah. And it's funny, but The Lion King 2 actually has some pretty good songs in it. It's never going to be up to the same caliber as the original film.
No one's going to say that.
But anyone I know who's like grown up with it knows what I mean when I start singing it.
Yeah, it's wild. I did not see it until recently, and it's one of those things that people all the time would quote, and I would be like, "You've seen Lion King 2?
The straight-to-video Lion King
like
2?
You've seen
really?
that? Like,
really? And then you watch it, you're like, wow, this actually is pretty decent.
And then now we have to talk about the Disney live-action musicals because there's quite a few. And we're not talking about the new ones. There's going to be a few new ones, but first we'll start it off with Newsies. I know you haven't seen Newsies. I have it at home,
but I've never seen it.
We got it on Blu-ray back home. Newsies, I never knew about it. It's something was my wife's favorite musical, and I'd never seen it. And then I watched it, and she knew every word, and it was, one of those things. And but I do like it. It's a young Christian Bale. It's a fun movie. It moves at the same pace as like Hook does, where you're just kind of like in the adventure of it all, and that's how Newsies feels in the similar way, where you're just like, yeah, Hook's great. Like, it's not a musical. We don't talk about it.
I'm just saying, like, in terms of films that get a lot of undue hate.
Yeah, Hook's great. Hook's fantastic.
We can talk about High School Musical because I had that listed here, but if we're on Disney, we might as well
talk about it here because it is.
I saw it once because I was forced to by like my little cousins, and then I quickly repressed it and never thought about it again.
So this will be. It's completely off topic, but I got my first kiss at a High School Musical, the first one. So we went to go see it for a girl's birthday party, and she kissed me at the end of her birthday party. So for me, pretty good movie. I've always thought it was pretty good. No, really though, I other than that, which I always have been like, hey, I'll watch whatever now. I don't give a shit. Is that the music's fun. Sure, Zac Efron doesn't sing any of the songs in the first one, but when he sings them in the second one, he really does bring it. I feel like he adds a lot to the role actually singing it, and I actually almost like 2 more than 1, even though 1 has the more original songs, and then 3's blah, blah, and then 4's blah, blah, blah. Like,
that's actually not an uncommon thing. I've heard that before because I do have a few friends that I'm like older in, so I'm not really in the same age group as them. Those filthy Zoomers, I love y'all. They would talk about how like, oh yeah, the second one is definitely like the better one. And it's like, but 3, we don't talk about 3, and I'm over here just like, I sure saw the first one and then immediately made myself forget about it. But it could have been just like snobbery back then. Because believe me, anything that little girls like when you're like a preteen or teenage boy is just like, fuck that.
Well, okay, so I'm a classy person, unlike you, and didn't hate things that girls liked. But also, I knew that Kenny Ortega, the choreographer of many famous musicals, including Newsies, but also Thriller, was the choreographer of fucking Thriller by Michael Jackson, which I don't know if that counts as a musical, but it's on the top of this list. As best one.
That's just best music video.
Best music video. Kenny Ortega directed and choreographed up to High School Musical 3, I believe. I don't think he did 4.
That's really cool.
And I feel like you can see it, and I feel like you can especially see it in 2. And
I didn't know. I'm sorry. I was too busy watching slasher movies and anime.
Yeah, I know. I'm bullying you on not seeing a musical. I don't know what happened.
How does that work?
How does this work?
Meanwhile, I was seeing R-rated movies with my dad, and
I'm like, what the fuck? You hadn't seen High School Musical? Yeah, that's true. I was raised by a single mother. We like musicals. I see all the things. So we don't talk. That's all the hype. I'm not watching that Disney Plus show, by the way. I'll watch the movies.
You mean High School Musical, the series, Frank?
Yes, I'm not.
What about High School Musical, the series, the special? You're not going to watch that either?
Now you got me. You added the special, and I was there. No, fuck that. What the fuck, Disney Plus? Another one that's another live action one is Into the Woods. Now, my wife was Into the Woods. Mm-hmm. She played Jack's mother.
That's Sondheim, right?
Stephen Sondheim. Yeah. And it's basically Sondheim being like, but what if all the fairy tales were fucked up? Yeah, that's good. Let me do that.
So basically, when fairy tales were first created before we Disneyfied?
Yes, and basically he a lot of them he keeps to the original endings, like
Grimm Brothers
style, cool. And then he changes up a few things, and he basically combine. It's basically like. It's funny because they, Avengers is the greatest crossover in history, and then you point to Into the Woods because it really is like Jack and the Beanstalk, a few a bunch of other fairy tales, Red Riding Hood, a bunch of other little ones, and you're just like,
it's like that Once Upon a Time fables,
Cinderella, like a bunch of things. Not Pocahontas. It's got a bunch of little Brothers Grimm stories inside of it, and they're twisting it around.
That's
and
cool.
It's fun. It really is. And I mean, if we're gonna and I really love it because Mary had been singing it. Literally, we lived together at the time, so I literally heard it all the time. So I'm definitely a big fan because I know it back and forth.
We're conditioned.
I was conditioned, but it's a good musical. It's a good musical. Like the thing about being in a musical and then watching musicals is that it's good the first time. Most musicals are good the first time, but a mark of a truly good musical is if you can do it 50 times in 30 days.
That's the stress test.
That's the real stress test, is being able to do the musical again and again and again and again and again and just do it again so many times.
Basically, if it passes the children's test where your kids could play it on loop all the time and it won't drive you completely insane, then it probably passes the test.
It's a great musical. So Mary Poppins, I think, is the last one on here. I haven't seen Mary Poppins Returns. Have you?
No.
So we'll just talk about Mary Poppins.
From what I hear about
Classic.
Mary Poppins Returns, it's very much like it might as well be a remake disguised as a sequel.
Oh.
That's what I hear.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I would, the original is just classic. It's a fantastic movie. It's extremely well directed. It's almost surprisingly well directed. It's one of those ones that you're not really paying attention, then something will happen and you'll be like, the fuck, where'd that style come from? You're like, what the hell? But
where did that accent come from, Dick Van Dyke?
Yeah, Dick Van Dyke, what the hell? But it is definitely one of the greats for live action Disney musicals. I'm sure we're missing a few of these on here. Aristocats. I'm a big Aristocats fan just because it's a little bit jazzy. Fantasia, I don't know if that counts as a musical. Would you count Fantasia?
That's an interesting one.
It is.
It's definitely an outlier.
Yeah. It's like watching an orchestra play.
Yeah, it's like an animated orchestra. Maybe one could argue a feature-length music video type thing. It's an odd one.
It's an odd one.
I don't think it quite falls into the genre. It feels like its own thing.
What's another one we're forgetting? Jungle Book. We forgot the original Jungle Book, not the remake. The remake doesn't have the live-action remake doesn't have music.
It only has 2 songs.
Only 2 songs,
yeah.
And then the original is it's one of my favorites. As a kid,
it's got some bops.
Yeah, it's got some bops. As a kid, I was really into
it was never among the strongest of the Disney films for me, but the songs always made up for that.
Would you count Robin Hood as a musical? It does have doot 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 doot. I don't know how the rest of it goes, but I love that.
Name every song in Robin Hood.
No, I can't remember any of
every
them.
single one.
Something about Mary the Magdalene, and that's it.
I honestly don't remember enough to really like.
Yeah. Guess we're going back to Disney Plus to find out.
Oh boy.
But I feel like we've touched a lot of Disney's. Now let's move on to some other musicals, because that's not really why you're here to hear a bunch of Disney
Just
talk.
Disney.
No, we'll talk about some other
Next
musicals.
up alphabetically is Dr. Horrible's Sing-Along blog. Now this is technically a
Yeah.
web series, but I'm counting it anyway because
Because you can buy it as a TV series, to be
you
fair.
can buy it like edited together like a movie.
Yeah.
That, and where else am I going to be able to talk about Dr. Horrible?
I love Dr. Horrible. I remember being hyped when it was coming out and watching every bit as it came out, because it came out as a weekly thing for when it was coming out. It was like it had a schedule, and I loved it. It's like I was already a big Neil Patrick Harris fan, and then you throw in Nathan Fillion, and you're just like, all right.
I had like not watched it after it was already like long since done.
Yeah.
Because when I had met you, you were mad that I hadn't seen it
Yeah.
yet. But when we had met around college, that was around the time that I was
Dark
starting to really get into Joss Whedon.
Yeah.
Because that was the time I like watched all the Buffy, Angel, Firefly. So I was like eating up everything Joss Whedon, and then Dr. Horrible got pulled up as well.
Yes, and it does fit in well with Joss Whedon's other work. I feel like it's still got his whimsy and his
Definitely a sense of humor.
Yeah, a sense of humor, and it's so cool and fun to see these guys do a musical together is basically it, and it works so well.
Yeah, and it was like made during the writer's strike, and then it was like free to go up online and stuff like that. It was an interesting time.
Development,
Maybe
yeah.
we'll get a sequel now that everyone's in.
No, that will not happen. We will probably never get a sequel.
We finally
of that.
have the time.
But
Whedon has like talked about it for years that like it's already written, like he wrote it
really?
like years ago, but the only thing they haven't done is just actually get everyone together and do it.
Oh man, because you would have to clear those schedules, and that would be ridiculous.
Yeah, especially for NPH.
Yeah, and Nathan Fillion, like he's got a lot going on. But I really I love Dr. Horrible's Sing-Along blog. It's one of those musicals that I feel gets people into other musicals because
definitely.
It's so
Because
deceiving.
It's very deceiving, and it pulls you in with like the superhero satire and just how funny it is. And it also sucker punches you at the end.
Yep, and you're just like, whoa!
Did you forget what this was actually about?
And that's what's great about it, is that it doesn't lose its purpose about what it's actually about. That's what's so poignant about it. I feel like it moves so well. I love all three of them separate, and all three of the episodes together is fantastic.
Yep.
I am a huge fan of Dr. Horrible's
I know, you
Sing-Along
were
blog.
Dr. Horrible once for Halloween.
Yeah,
I remember
exactly.
that.
Yes, I was. And
I was actually going to be Captain Hammer, but I couldn't like get like the right shirt or like the gloves, so I ended up getting the Superman costume instead.
Exactly.
I did really want to be Captain Hammer.
And it's just the music's so good. Like, it's surprising because you already knew from Buffy that he could do musical episodes, but Joss Whedon here is on another
For
level.
the record, as a Buffy fan, I love that episode.
I am not seeing any Buffy, so I'm just saying it off of seeing that one episode, because everyone says you have to see that one episode, and that's it.
Yeah. If you would just watch Buffy, stop being a baby about it.
I'm not interested. Just not.
You can't call yourself a Joss Whedon fan until you've seen Buffy.
That's not true at all. I've seen literally everything else. And
Except
love
the
it.
thing that put him on the map, Frank.
I guess that would be like, man, I'm a big Steven Spielberg fan. Have you seen Jaws? Seen what?
Exactly.
I guess.
Don't make me get anti-fanboy on you.
I'm just saying, I don't care. That's all. Moving on to Grease. Now, this is one that is a family favorite. My mom is a huge fan of Grease. Like, she says there's two movies she saw multiple times in theaters. It was Grease and Purple Rain. And if Purple Rain's not on our list...
Purple Rain's on here.
Okay, good. We'll be talking about it later. But Grease, she saw it, I think, 10 times, she said, like that. So it's one of those ones we saw early as a kid. And it's such a confusing film. It's so fun and light and moving forward, but then there's these dark fucked up songs, and really, what is the message of Grease? That if you conform to being a slut, like he will love you. I don't really know what.
Don't know either.
I don't really know what they're trying to say. Like, I really don't. Like force your girl into being what she's not. Like, be whoever you are deep down, which is not what she is there. So I don't really know what they're trying to say
it's
there.
Very confused.
And then they drive off in a fucking car into the sky. So what the fuck was this whole musical? Was it a coma that she died in the drowning scene, and this whole thing has been a dream of her fucking going to heaven? I think that's what this all is. I think that's what Grease is.
That's like some weird like Reddit theory.
Yeah, right.
Bullshit.
It's a weird Reddit theory bullshit. But now you won't stop thinking about it. Is Grease a weird fever dream
bold of you
of
to
Sandy
assume,
dying?
Bold of you to assume that I think about Grease that much. and I like Grease.
That's true.
Don't get me wrong. I like it fine. But like bold of you to assume that I would think about it often enough to have that theory in my head.
Fair enough. I've seen Grease so many times. It's great cast, fun music. The tone is all over the place, but I think most people forgive it.
It was a favorite that like my mom always had on VHS, that whenever like the cousins would come over and visit, like that was one that they would put on. It was the ultimate like babysitting VHS.
Yeah.
Just like, here, I'll just put on Grease and that'll shut him up.
That'll shut him up. It's fine. It gets more and more dated as time goes by, but it's fun. It's a fun one.
It's interesting that the next one on here, you could say there's definitely like a comparison or parallels, but just because it's alphabet,
yeah,
it's just alphabetical, so they just happen to be next to each other, is Hairspray.
Yeah, well, okay, so I mean they're a little bit different, but they both do a time jump back.
They're both like period pieces.
So I would say Grease is a 50s and 60s is more Hairspray, and I love Hairspray. Hairspray is one of the first movie musicals that really struck me as a kid. I remember like growing up and seeing, I saw Hairspray and really just loved it because it was the music moves, the whole like movie has this weird attitude to it, and the same confidence that the main character has. And sure, there's weird things like John Travolta as the mother, but it is
very creepy.
It's very weird, but it's also kind of funny in a way, And I loved that movie as a kid. I just watched it again and again, and I thought it was great. I really did. I thought Hairspray was so funny, and so it broke the fourth wall just the right way, where it's like, hey, I'm John Walters and I'm trying to tell you a thing I believe, John Waters, I'm trying to tell you a thing I believe, but he also is able to work that so well in there. I think that's his crowning achievement. He has lots of great musicals, but Hairspray is the crowning achievement.
I mean, John Waters. That's definitely one of the few John Waters like projects that I'd actively rewatch. I would say,
yeah,
because it ain't gonna be Pink Flamingos.
No, it ain't gonna be Pink Flamingos. I like Hairspray a lot. I know it gets a lot of shit for being kind of like, I don't know. It's a weird film, but I really enjoy that movie. I don't enjoy the original as much. The original Hairspray musical movie is fine, but I don't feel like it brings the same energy that
the remake
does. It's fine, and I've also seen Hairspray on stage, and it really is the energy you bring to the roles. It really is, like, because it's fine if what's the main character's name? I forget her name. If she's enthusiastic, that's fine, but she can be too enthusiastic and be. And like everybody else doesn't come across the same way. And the great thing about the movie musical remake is that it does. Everybody matches that energy, like instead of like her outshining everybody around her.
Yeah.
It's like everybody's got that same energy, even though it might be in other directions, like that's why I dig that one.
Fair enough.
Moving on.
La La Land.
La La Land. I like La La Land.
Yeah, I liked it too. I don't necessarily like it as much as his first film.
What's the first one?
It's the why is it escaping me? It's the drumming one.
Oh, Whiplash.
Whiplash,
Fuck me
yes.
sideways. I love Whiplash. If that, I mean, I wish that counted as a musical because goddamn, that I love that movie.
Yeah, that was his next big project.
He definitely it's like, I feel like everybody saw Whiplash and was like, that man should make a musical. And like, and La La Land is him doing that musical without succumbing to, I feel like, the Hollywood bullshit of like, here's a musical, do it, like they do with we'll be talking about him, but our Les Mis director and Tom Hooper, they do that with him. They just like, they're like, here, do a musical, and he's like, fine, I will do this musical, but I will make it art.
Basically. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. I like that it had a very similar thematic framework to Whiplash.
Yeah.
In that whole just like, what do you sacrifice in order to actually get what you want for your dreams or like your aspirations? Because that was present. That was like a sprinkle in Whiplash, and then it's like really at the forefront here because it's primarily about like the romance.
Exactly. I can't name any song from La La Land, but I love the songs. Like, it's one of those things where you're like, I like it, I just can't tell you any of them. Like, it's, like, but it is, Emma Stone shines. Ryan Gosling is, as always, fantastic.
Yeah, there was a lot of criticisms back when that movie came out about like the way Emma Stone sings. I never really found a problem. I never really had much of a problem with it. Like, I'm not a music expert, but
I see what people are complaining about, but it's not like
that.
Emma Watson, where they were like with the Beauty and the Beast.
Yikes.
Where, you're like, hey, you're like, not exactly what we were going for there. but yeah, I like this one. Sorry.
So do I.
We're going through so many musicals. I'm gonna go like
very touching. All the wires are crossing.
Yeah, I'm just like Jesus.
Too much.
There's so many musicals, but I feel like we should get through all of them. You know, as much as we can.
The next one is Labyrinth.
Okay, so this is another one that's a huge one for my mom. She loves Bowie. I'm just like, not Billy Idol, not Billy Joel. I'm like, no.
Labyrinth with Billy Idol would be really interesting.
But she was always a big fan of that movie, and
she loves the codpiece.
Yes. No, that was literally what everyone would joke, and then she'd be like, "Yup," and I'd be like, "Ma," like, you know, like, and it is Labyrinth. It's one of those ones that I watched as a kid and thought it was frightening, and then I watched it as an adult and thought, "What the fuck? Why the fuck did they make this so frightening?" You know, like, you're just like,
I mean, it's okay to scare kids.
It's okay to scare kids. It's actually sometimes a good thing.
Yeah.
But because I see, you know, a lot of what made me who I am is because of movies that scared the shit out of me.
It's better for them to experience that in a controlled environment and then get a taste for it.
Yeah.
In a place where it's safe. Like, a movie's not going to do anything to you.
Movie's not going to hurt you. Movie's not going to harm you too much. It
might break you like me, but I'm fine. I'm fine. I turned out great.
He's great.
Why are you looking at me, Frank?
Is that another gray hair growing into Sean over there? Okay. Do we have anything else to say about this bad boy?
No, it's just a lot of fun. It's like dark and twisted and gothic. And I like the sort of dark fantasy brought to it. It was Henson who directed it, right?
Yes.
Yeah, because he also directed Dark Crystal.
I love the songs. I think they're great. Even is it Moon Day? No, what is the song where he's singing with the baby and he's bouncing around with all the Muppets?
It's just been too long since
It's been so long, but I do love Labyrinth.
I'll tell you what, I remember when we were still in college, a bunch of us in the class started singing one of the songs.
Yeah. That's what happens.
Yeah, because someone had mentioned the babe. Someone had just, out of nowhere, just said the word babe. and someone else in the other side of the classroom said, "What babe?" And then, without missing a beat, someone else said, "The babe with the power." What power? And we got all the way to voodoo hoodoo.
Yeah, and you're like, oh no.
It's just like, what is happening? It literally took us over.
It's such a weird film, though. It
Oh, yeah.
really is. It's just so strange, and it's one of Jim Henson's weirdest. But it stands out like a Tim Burton film, you know, like where it's just like, well, this is dark and strange, but good, you know, like you're like, all right, cool, we'll move along with it. It's like, but good original songs.
Good original songs. Let's. Good thing we brought up Tom Hooper because the next one is Les Miserables.
Okay. All right. So you're the one who got me to watch Les Mis.
Yeah, I like the Tom Hooper film for what it is. It's not the same as the stage musical. I'm a big fan of the stage musical.
So is my wife.
Yeah, the Tom Hooper film is clumsy.
Yeah.
But I can still watch it and enjoy it for what it is, except for Russell Crowe. I mean, I enjoy it, but ironically.
Yes.
I enjoy it for much different reasons.
For much different we used to all the time, you would joke about the Russell Crowe thing. What would you scream at me? You'd be like, Javert!
And I'm Javert!
It's just screaming at me from like a train. Like, and it's really like, it's one of those movies that I feel is a lot of people sucked up to it at the time, but now look back at it and go, Anne Hathaway was good, huh? Yeah?
More or less.
Yeah? Like, because otherwise it is it's strange. It's a weird adaptation to the movie, and it's clunky, and as much as I love The King's Speech, the cinematography from The King's Speech is strange in a musical.
Yeah,
you know, like
he's got like this really loose style where he doesn't care.
He wants to make you feel weird about the composition.
Everything wants to be like disorienting. Every single shot, even if it's not supposed to be a weird moment, always has like this. It might be a close up with like a huge amount of negative space, and you're just like, what was the purpose of this?
And I feel like it works with Les Mis because it's supposed to be their
Sort of
loneliness,
like this
their
loneliness,
like struggle.
And, like, it's supposed to be like this chaotic revolution on top of that.
Yeah, it's not like where he takes that same cinematography and brings it to Cats, and then you have, which we will not be talking about Cats because we haven't seen it, but I've seen enough to know that he brings that same cinematography and it don't work. You're just like, oh, we gotta leave lots of room for these cats to lick each other's buttholes. What are we doing here? Like, you know, like it's just strange. I think he's a great director. Don't like King's Speech alone should get him into the top directors of all time, I believe. But it does
like
Les
I think
Mis
he has a
is
lot of
strange
prowess, but like post King's Speech, and you know John Adams wasn't too bad, but it's one of those things where I feel like the prowess and like level of like tact and skill that he has, he's going towards like the wrong projects.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's obvious with Cats is that they were being like, aha, one of the biggest projects ever. Let's hand it to one of the biggest
This will
movie
be
musicals
one
ever.
to one, right?
Yeah,
it's the same thing.
It's the same thing. It'll be the same as Les Mis. Nope. And I mean, you got to give it to him. It's one of the only movie musicals, Les Mis, that won Oscars.
I wasn't big.
You gotta give it to him.
I wasn't big on all the dialogue being sung.
No, it is strange.
It's really awkward and unnecessary.
I'm not a big fan of Les Mis. I will say that I think Anne Hathaway does a fantastic job, and I think that mostly you want to hear something that probably sounds xenophobic or something. I don't give a fuck about the French. You can't pay me to give a fuck about the French people. You just can't. Like, I just don't give a shit. Like, I really don't. That's why Les Mis, I watch it and I go, oh, cool, you did that? Nice. No one gives a shit. Like, you know, like, it's just, I don't know. I've never liked...
Victor Hugo is rolling in his grave.
Yes. I know, Victor Hugo loves his shit.
Especially after we were praising Hunchback of Notre Dame. What's the matter with you?
Yes, and I actually really love the original book for Hunchback of Notre Dame. I've read it quite a bit, and I really do like it a lot. I think Victor Hugo is a fantastic writer, and he's able to capture the French Revolution in such a way that's fantastic, but I don't give a fuck about it. You know, like they can capture so much passion and it's really great, but
it's not like a subject material that you're invested in.
No, I don't know why.
I guess it depends on how it's executed, because there are plenty of things you could argue, like I don't give a fuck about this. But man, if I see it in a movie, like, I don't care about boxing at all. But oh man, the Rocky movies get me pumped.
It's true, and that's the thing is that a great musical will get you into whatever topic it's covering. Guys and Dolls is about horse racing and dice, but you are all of a sudden like, roll that motherfucker, you know, like it's just like it's one of those things that like a good movie musical will get you into whatever topic you're in, but I don't buy it for Les Mis, and I'm not a fan. And I know lots of people are being like, like only Russell Crowe's bad, but like really it's not. It's a lot of other things.
Speaking of not a fan.
Speaking of not a fan.
Here comes Little Shop of Horrors.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, is that next? Is that the next one?
Next.
So we watched Little Shop of Horrors today. And you're a big fan of Little Shop of Horrors. And he's been wanting me to rewatch it forever. Because I watched it when I was younger and I never really liked it. And then we rewatched it today, and I'll get to what my feelings are today, other than I just didn't like it, is that I watched it today, and the same problem I had with it the first time comes up, is that the songs make me feel like it's going nowhere, you know? Like, you're just like, all right, come on. I know they're important, and they like, oh, this is the characters, and they're talking, but like sometimes songs feel like they're going nowhere, and the Little Shop of Horrors makes me feel that way. There's just some good songs, but they're all from The Plant, and they're all from like, and they're either that or they're the first one. You know, like I think that Steve Martin's good, but it's also like completely over the top, you know, like and just,
I mean, that is sort of the idea.
The point,
it was like an adaptation of a stage musical, which was itself a remake of a shoddy, low-budget Roger Corman film.
Yeah, where it's just like...
So either way, like it's the spirit of it is going to be sort of like this cheesy B movie like.
And
stuff.
I buy into it. I really do. I like the B movie stuff. It's just like, and I think that trying to remake it now would be a mistake because you had such a great cast there. You know, like how do you beat Steve Martin as the dentist? Like how? And then Bill Murray as the sadist who comes in. Like how do you beat a cameo like that? You know, like it's just
Matt Damon.
Yeah, it's just like it's one of those things that it's a movie that probably shouldn't have worked in the first place. The first time around, it shouldn't have worked. And then they were like, yeah, but then we made a play with a musical. And then they were like, yeah, but what if we did a movie musical? And now they're like, yeah, but what if we did a remake? And you're like, wait, Rick Moranis, no. I'll give it to Rick Moranis. Rick Moranis is perfect in Little Shop
for that
of Horrors.
particular role. Yeah,
he's perfect. He sounds perfect too. His singing is like so spot on for that whole role. And the effects are absolutely astounding. Yeah. I literally said, is that CGI? And you were like, no. And I was like, that has to be CGI. Like, I was like, it's weird. It's like weird. It looks like too on point with the lips movement. And as Deshaun has shown me from the behind the scenes, it is not. It is all...
it was all, they just ran it and they just filmed it slow with the mouth movements and then sped up the film.
Which is crazy, the amount of coordination it would take to do that. Like, it just...
oh, God.
Sounds astounding.
There's behind-the-scenes footage of, like, them working, like, the giant Audrey 2, like, the last puppet, the biggest one. And they're, like, underneath the floor, and they got, like... They're, like, on pedals. They're, like, on ellipticals and stuff getting that thing to work. It is wild.
That is wild. So the thing I will say, though, is that we watched the director's cut today, and I personally enjoyed the director's cut ending way more than the original theatric ending.
Because the film, at its core, is a cautionary tale. Yeah. Seymour, at the end of the day, basically sells his soul and is rewarded with, like, wealth and fame for it, and it all just blows up in his face.
Yeah.
And the consequence is we all get eaten by giant plants.
Yes.
It's very B-movie ridiculousness, and that's sort of the fun with it, and I really like the songs.
Yeah. They're fun. They're fun. I just don't...
You're not in the cult.
I just don't... I don't get it. I think it's fun, but if I never saw Little Shop of Horrors again after that viewing today, I'd be totally okay. You know,
He's
like
breaking my heart, guys.
I know.
You guys can't see me, but I'm literally wearing a Little Shop of Horrors
I
shirt.
know. I
where
feel
it's
bad.
It's like the Hydra logo, but with Audrey too, which I didn't even realize I wore because we kind of got a late start, so I just grabbed whatever shirt was next on the rack.
So it was Destiny.
Destiny.
And I get it. The effects are fantastic.
But it is,
the cast is great.
It is sort of that inherent thing with like cult films, is that you have those people who like it strikes a chord.
Yeah.
And the people it strikes a chord with, it really strikes a chord with, but it's not too surprising when people are just like, no, I don't really get it. It's not really for me.
Yeah, I get that. And a lot of these musicals will be just that, is like cult things, you know, like they will be like a big little hits in their own right, but they won't be huge. Like I'm sure we'll get to it. Rent is one of those ones where it is huge in its own right and in its own thing, but it is not big in the world, you know, like, but it is one of the highest selling musicals and movie musicals of all time. You know, like, it's one of those things where you're like,
I guess it did its job.
Yeah, right. But moving on, we're going alphabetical order.
Yep. Moulin Rouge.
Moulin Rouge. I don't care, guys. I don't
like Baz Luhrmann's movies.
No, that's really
I
it.
don't.
Is the man's a wild man.
Like,
he's crazy.
I don't like the Leonardo DiCaprio Romeo and Juliet.
I do.
I don't.
That's
like
the only
Moulin
one
Rouge.
I will let go is Romeo and Juliet, because I feel like it fits the over the top style.
I don't like that. I don't like his Great Gatsby. Literally the
Great
the only project that he's made that I liked was The Get Down, and even then that was kind of a hard sell for me because I don't like his other stuff. And even then, like, that first episode is rough because it has all of his problems.
Yeah.
But then, as it warms along, it's just like, oh wow, there was someone next to him who told them no,
no. And that's the thing I think with Moulin Rouge. It's a big hit because it is unbridled Baz Luhrmann and unfiltered.
Yeah.
And it's the only time it would ever work, and that's why people love that movie.
Yeah.
Is he's going balls to the wall, and then you have movies where he's like you were saying. Great Gatsby is the number one example of, they were like, give me a Baz Luhrmann film, and he was like, fine, and he kind of like handed in an assignment that looks like a Baz Luhrmann film, but it's not a good movie.
And to take something so grounded like The Great Gatsby and give it like this Baz Luhrmann, like everything is fucking extra about it, feels so weird.
It feels so weird. It's like, I love The Great Gatsby as a book, and I was really disappointed by that movie. I don't think it's very good at all.
It's just such a weird thing.
Yeah.
And my thing about Moulin Rouge is that there's so much working for it. Like, it's got a good cast,
great cast.
Like, it's
so
got like
good.
Like, it's got such good like production values. But then, like, the editing is so, like, haphazard
Jarring.
and bombastic. It feels like it's actively working against the things that it has its own advantages.
It's
like actively working against itself.
Yeah.
And it's frustrating.
It's like, and people have to deliver such ridiculous lines. You know, you have this great cast, and then they have to say stuff like let's drink this green something. You know, like, they get so fucking, I don't know. It's fucking,
It's dumb.
It's not very. It's like, I see why people like it, because they combined a bunch of songs you like, and they did a good job at combining those songs. And you know what white people love? Mashups. Love them. If they love two things, they love acoustic covers and mashups. And Moulin Rouge is just a mashup,
putting
jukebox.
raisins into things.
And putting raisins into things that don't need raisins. Moulin Rouge, I feel, is one of those ones where people love it, but I feel like they should watch it again, but then they watch it again and they love it more. So it's definitely one of those like cult things.
I think it's less that and more they should just watch other musicals, because I feel like anytime I've encountered someone who's really into Moulin Rouge, it's like the only musical they know.
Yeah.
Outside of obvious stuff, like they probably grew up with like Disney movies and stuff.
True. Yeah. I feel like that's very
diversify. There's much better stuff out there.
All right, Moulin Rouge.
Better stuff.
We hated on it, so move on.
Yep. The Nightmare Before Christmas.
I do love The Nightmare. This should have been included in Disney, but it's not exactly a Disney title, so we'll let it slide. Nightmare Before Christmas.
I think it was actually under Touchstone.
but it's owned by Disney now.
Yeah.
This is one of the ones that my brother really clung on to as a kid. He also clung on to Happy Feet, which is, I think, you could count that as a jukebox musical. People sing.
Yeah, I didn't even put that on there. I just forgot that was a thing.
I loved Happy Feet. And you got to give George Miller,
I remember
the director of
the director of every single Mad Max film, doing a jukebox musical about penguins.
My brother loved that musical as a kid. We watched it. I gotta say, I've probably seen Happy Feet like 16 fucking times. And I think it's one of the better jukebox musicals. And if you like tap dancing at all, you're gonna fucking love Happy Feet. You know, like it's just like, all right.
I mean, fine. Happy Feet was just one of those movies that just kind of came and went for me, and then I only realized years later that it was George Miller. Like, George Miller directed that? It's like, all right. Can't say he doesn't have range.
Yeah, right. He was just like, what? But Nightmare Before Christmas is definitely one of those ones that my brother latched on to as a kid, and we've watched it so many times.
Yeah,
it's so good.
Even taking away, like, if you're one of those people who gets affected by like oversaturation or like marketability, and just like hype backlash, like, yeah, because I remember Josh specifically in school said I loved Nightmare Before Christmas a lot more before Hot Topic ruined it.
Yes, and that's fair. Hot Topic drove that motherfucker into beat that dead horse dead. Like, you know,
it became one of those things where like it was well received and people knew it. And I feel like people tried to treat it like it was like this precious cult thing, but it wasn't, because it was actually a relative success.
It made a lot of money.
So it was just one of those things where like it became like that movie that people thought they were like loving this cult film that was only for them, and you're just like, no, everyone likes that movie.
Everyone likes this movie.
Like you're not different. You're not unique.
Like, you know, there's a lot of kids that like certain movies because they're alt. You know, like, yes, they're alternative, and I like them. Like, I'm really into Friday the 13th because I'm alternative to Sean.
You made a powerful enemy.
But I understand what it's saying.
It's just one of those things where it's just like, and I get it, because it and a lot of other like Tim Burton projects are just like babies first gothic.
Yeah, exactly. It's like wholesome gothic, and you're just like, all right. Nightmare Before Christmas, I think, has some like, I literally love almost every track on there. I would say so. It's like, What's This is one of my favorite songs, and I will say it for everyone to hear. The Fall Out Boy cover of What's This is almost better than the original. Because they did a remix where they had, of course, it's such a Hot Topic thing. They brought in all these pop punk bands to sing the entirety of Nightmare Before Christmas, and you're like, yes, thank you, Hot Topic. Like,
I don't think anyone's going to really like try to kill you over that. Then again, I have like sniper dots like aimed at my head when I say I like the Fall Out Boy version of Beat It. So,
yeah, and that's because they're wrong. It is good, but that's beside the point. Disney loves this. It realized that it loved it. That's why it sold a Hot Topic. You know, like
and it put people on the map.
Yeah.
Like, Henry Selick is a filmmaker that I wish I would see more of, because literally his big films are just Nightmare Before Christmas, because that is the thing. Tim Burton didn't direct Nightmare Before Christmas and Coraline.
Yeah. Which you're like, this man is talented. Give him more movies. Like,
more movies.
Especially
since Coraline was like the thing that started Laika, and I'm just like, bring him back for another one.
It's true. It's true. All right. Moving on. What else we got?
The Prince of Egypt.
Prince of Egypt. So not a Disney movie. This is important, guys. This is a what is this? DreamWorks. I feel like this is maybe DreamWorks one of its best.
It is its best. I've been saying this since I was a kid. Like, DreamWorks kind of peaked early.
Peaked real early.
It was their very first animated film, and
Prince of Egypt is beautifully animated, great music, and kind of a really personal Moses story, which, like, you get a lot of Moses stories, and they're epic and they're big.
Yeah, Ten Commandments.
Yeah, and they're cool, but like, and they're the classic what you would expect. But Prince of Egypt feels personal.
Yeah,
and
it's
like,
interesting
when when Moses is telling his brother, like, to let my people go, it feels like it's a big move instead
because
of...
they really played with the brother dynamic and sort of made it more tragic in that sense. And it's interesting that like the animated film feels more adult than most of like the adaptations of that story have felt. Not only with stuff like Ten Commandments, and I like Ten Commandments, both versions, but it's one of those things. Just like, wow, this is more nuanced and poignant, and this is supposed to be the quote unquote kids one.
Yeah, you're like, what? What's funny is people in the same breath will bring up Joseph and the Technicolor Dreamcoat because it's the same animators.
Joseph,
basically.
King of Dreams, I never saw
King of Dreams. It's not good. That's the thing. I've seen it recently. I was one of those ones that I was like, oh. It's like Prince. Yeah, I'd seen it when I was a kid, but I was like, oh, it's like Prince of Egypt.
It was like
and then
always advertised on like the Prince of Egypt like VHS or like the DVD.
Yeah,
like, and it sort of had a similar art style, so it was clearly this like it was trying to ride.
It was trying to ride, and it just doesn't work as well. And I strictly think it's because you go with an epic Jewish story, and then you go with this Joseph and the Technicolor Dreamcoat is lame. And the musical, if we're talking about the musical, lame too. I don't like Joseph and the Technicolor Dreamcoat. It's definitely a product of its time. The 70s pumped out these psychedelic musicals. One of them that we're not talking about here, Tommy. Fucking hate Tommy.
Never seen Tommy.
Really? You've never seen Tommy?
No.
It's The Who. So everyone was doing their musical. We'll talk about it later. Purple Rain. You have you had Pink Floyd with The Wall. But you had Tommy by The Who, which they bring in all their songs, and Pinball Wizard and all that is in there. Pinball Wizard is the only scene I like in Tommy. Otherwise, it's mostly a big acid trip of a fucking movie where they're just like, symbolism, right? Symbolism, and I get it. They were probably taking a shit ton of acid, and I'm sure Tommy's a good time on acid.
Wasn't everyone back
but
then?
It's just... So it's too heady for its own good. It doesn't come down to being a movie often enough. And it's funny because it's one of those movies I'm angry about because it was one of those movies I bought as a young kid when I didn't have much money. And I was like, oh, cool. The Who made a musical and it's got Elton John. You're like, yeah, I'm buying this movie. And then I bought it and watched it. It was just
what have I done?
I was like, what the shit? I wasted my money.
Back to Prince of Egypt.
But back to Prince of Egypt. Great songs. Epic storyline. Personal.
It's killing me that that film hasn't had a nice proper HD remaster.
Sure.
Because it came out on VHS and DVD, and then for some reason there was radio silence on DreamWorks and about it for some reason.
Yeah.
I don't know if they don't want to think about it because they're a very different studio now or something, but it finally came out on Blu-ray recently, and it was basically just the DVD again.
Yeah, which
just
is
on
sad.
a new disc. I'm this film is gorgeous. I want to see it properly remastered to look even better.
Yeah, that'd be nice. I'll take it. I'll buy it.
It's killing
me. What we got next?
The producers.
This is, as I said earlier, in high school, I wrote a play called Nazis Don't Dance, and it is literally just a 10-minute sort of producers thing. It's not the exact same plot, but I wanted that same shock and awe of bringing in Nazis to do these ridiculous things. Because
you just wanted to fuck with your audience as much as they did.
I saw the producers, and I saw the original and the remake. Pretty close to each other, and I'm a huge fan of the remake. I think the original's good, but nobody beats Matthew Broderick and
Nathan Lane.
Nathan Lane, man. Nathan Lane's so damn good.
I could name a lot of people who would disagree with
I know.
you.
People
not specifically for Broderick and Nathan Lane, but just the remake of the producers.
I know. Some people don't like it.
I prefer the original.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm a huge fan of the remake. I think it's funny. I know a lot of it is strange and weird and doesn't play the same way. But...
Yeah, I think my point of contention with it is that it feels really clumsily translated to film more so than the original film did.
True, because it feels very much like you're watching the play at points. And that's kind of why I liked it. I kind of like that it's they hold the wide shots and let them actually do their musical numbers. But at the same time, I get why people say that, I get that criticism because yes, it is just sometimes an open shot and letting them dance, and you're kind of okay. Like, you know, like, especially like the ad number where they just like keep it open for the entire time. And you're like, okay, but I guess so. But I really loved the producers as a kid. I thought it was so clever and subvertive, and it really cackled me as a young kid, you know, like seeing this like ridiculous play, you know.
Also,
like,
for a recommendation for just a really good YouTube channel, anyone here who's a fan of the producers should actually watch that the Lindsay Ellis videos about the producers and like Nazi satire. Super good watch. Super good.
Anything by Lindsay Ellis. Like if you're a fan of this podcast, you should absolutely be a fan of hers. She's fantastic. And yeah, the producers, I get what she's saying there also. I've seen her videos and I get it. I had such a good time with those movies. I forgive it. I forgive it. Like, you know, like that's basically it.
I mean, remakes of musicals, if the musical is popular enough, is always inevitable.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah,
it's true. And there's lots of them, and I'm sure we'll bring up a few of them.
The next one is Purple Rain.
Purple Rain. Now, this is another one that my mom went 15 times, she said, to go see Purple Rain.
The most I've ever seen a movie in theaters has been 3 times.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it was cheaper back then. It was like a fucking dime or something. I don't know. She always says she like took a dime and saw a movie. I don't know. You know, one of those like things where she just drops those and you're like, what? But she saw it so many times, and I remember watching it as a kid, and I am such a big fan of Prince. I am a huge fan of Prince. And it's funny because it comes from both my parents. They both think they introduced each other to Prince. It's really funny. They're divorced, and it's, as we've mentioned before, and it's so fucking funny because they both think they introduced each other to Prince, and they'll say it. They'll be like, oh yeah, I introduced your mom to Prince, or she'll be like, I introduced your dad to Prince, and you're like, you both did not to each other. Like, you both were probably just like, wow, great, this is so good, and you both went along with it. But Purple Rain, it's funny because it just feels, it was never a musical, you know? Like, that's what's great about Purple Rain is most of these are movie musicals where they're adapting a musical to a movie. Purple Rain, it's funny in that there was never anything else. It was just Purple Rain. Yeah. And it feels so natural. It feels right. It feels like what it is, you know? Like, and sure, yes, this could be considered a jukebox musical because it is just using the songs from the Purple Rain soundtrack, but
that is true.
But it also is kind of like a weird meld where he was making the soundtrack to the movie, and the movie's about his life, and songs about his life.
How about,
you know, like, so it's kind of like,
how about the adaptation of an album?
Yes,
I feel like that's more appropriate than calling it a jukebox musical, because I think with the jukebox musical
implies several
artists.
Yeah, and this is more like Tommy or any of the other ones. It is strictly an album or artist, you know, like, and and it's basically it. I love it.
I like it too. I'll tell you what I don't like is Rent.
You don't like Rent?
I don't really
See,
like Rent.
That's another one where it's another like no, High School. So High School Musical was, I was on a first date, and Rent was where I got my first kiss. That was it. I went on my first date with a girl at High School Musical, and then it was first kiss at Rent. And that's one of the reasons why I love Rent. But it's also because she liked Rent, the girl I was trying to kiss. And so I really got into Rent to be like, see, I like things you like. And like, so you can't really base my liking of this on anything other than I've done it. I know the music so well.
Name every song.
Name every song.
Name every song.
Over the Moon. Come to My Candle. That's 25,000 something minutes.
525,600
minutes.
Is that it? Yeah.
And
the only reason I remember that is because it used to be,
I know
like,
so many.
It used to be like advertised on like some other movie I used to have. There was like a trailer for Rent, and that was always like the piece that they would do. Yeah. And it was an earworm. I love Rent. I think, and like, yes, there is that nostalgia bit for me, but also I think it's as much as it's like,
it's a deep musical, it's a light musical, you know, like, and that's what people hate about it, but that's what I like about it.
That's less my thing and more just like it thinks it's deep.
Yes.
It thinks it's deep.
Yeah.
It's not actually deep. It's actually very shallow. But as far as like the songs are concerned, I like the songs fine. I just think it thinks it's bigger shit than it actually is.
It thinks it's huge.
I don't have like the vitriol for it. Like, speaking of Lindsay Ellis, hates Rent.
Yes.
She has a whole video about that too. I don't have like that same hatred towards it, but I've never been a big fan.
And I've seen Rent live. It's definitely one of the ones I've seen live. I think that it does the reason why I like the movie musical is it does these really long shots where it feels like a musical, like you're seeing it on stage. And yes, that it inherently liking that and saying it's good is not right because you are trying to make it cinema. Like, we are adapting for a different art, and instead they're just being lazy and doing the same thing again, you know, like, which, yes, as a guy who has done musicals and likes musicals, I can see the effort in just doing the music again. But as somebody who also wants to see improvements on adaptions, you got to actually go a little bit further, you know, like, you got to go a little bit that one extra step, and Rent does not all the time. And
it's an adaptation process, and it needs to like fit the new medium.
Yes.
Because it gets to a point where, well, if it feels like you're just kind of filming the stage, then you could just go watch the stage.
Yeah, exactly. And that is people's main problem with Rent, I feel like. But also that's the reason why I liked it as a kid, because I thought I was never going to see Rent. And this was basically like going to see Rent. And like, that's half the reason why people like these kind of flat, like, just as you saw them on stage.
They're never going to be able to see it otherwise.
Never going to see it otherwise. So that's why I feel like a lot of musical people will let things go like that. Like I said, I like the producers. It's because and they're basically just being like, here's the fucking producers, like you saw it on stage. And that's fine for me, you know, like, because I've never seen the producers on stage, you know, like, but if I had, I would be like, feel a little bit cheated because you didn't adaptate it at all, you know, like you didn't.
Yeah, I suppose.
But beside the point.
So, like, you like it. I'm not a big fan.
Yes, I like the Rent.
Next up is Repo, the Genetic Opera.
This is a weird one.
You ever wanted to see a musical directed by the director of Saw 2? Well, have I got the movie for you?
This is
Saw
such a
3
strange
and 4.
one. I was first drawn to this movie strictly two things. One, it's supposed to be one of the bloodiest musicals ever, and it is.
Yeah.
Two, Meatloaf, baby. If you didn't know, you probably listened to this podcast. I'm a big Meatloaf fan. I love Meatloaf. He's the guy I've seen the most times in concert for some strange reason. Not some strange reason. My dad was a huge Meatloaf fan, and then I was, and now we've seen him too many times. And when I heard that he was a character in this movie, I was like, cool, absolutely, I'm watching it now. Like, you know, like I did that for anything the Meatloaf was in. I was like, Blood Rain? Yeah, okay. And then you're like, oh no.
What have I done?
What have I done? But like, you're like, you know, like anything. Fight Club, I was like, okay.
My draw was like purely directorial. Just like it already had the reputation of like, oh, a bloody, gory musical. I mean, yeah, sure. Yeah. That sounds right up my alley. It's just like, oh, Darren Lynn Bousman directed it? Sure.
Yeah, sure.
Sure, let's do it.
This is one of those that it's funny because I don't think it's a great musical, but being a musical fan, I literally bought it right away. Like when it came out on DVD, I bought it immediately. Like without hesitation.
This is definitely another cult one.
Yes, because, and I'll say it again, it's not a good movie. Like it is not, and the songs are not super good. But the whole concept and everything surrounding it is.
It's definitely one of those things where, like, the premise is what carries it as opposed to the actual execution of it as a musical.
Yeah. And I think movie-wise, their weird CGI backgrounds that they have going on as they float through the city is the main reason why I don't like the movie. Because the movie, otherwise, is pretty cool. Those scenes make me angry because you're like, this looks terrible. Why the fuck did you include it? Like, it's just like, just stop. Like,
maybe this is one that should like go backwards and be adapted for the stage and like polished up a bit.
Yeah, because I'll watch it. I think Repo's a fun musical. It just needs some touching up in some fun ways.
Yeah.
But
you could just like go back because it was a musical before. It was just never a big one.
Yeah. If you are looking for, if all these musicals you're like, they're all schmutzy, you go for Repo the Genetic Opera. Like it's not schmutzy. Like, or is it Sweetie Todd?
No.
No? Okay.
No, we're still in R.
I was going to talk about, that's one of my favorite musicals.
Yeah, I like Sweeney Todd too. But the next one is, I would argue, probably the most culty of the ones here is Rocky Horror.
Yes,
Rocky
absolutely.
Horror
If you're mentioning cult anything, Rocky Horror Picture Show is brought up. I remember I had not seen this, and one of my theater friends in high school went, "You have not seen Rocky Horror Picture Show?" And then we went back to her house that day and watched it. Like, it was one of those things that, and then my life was forever changed. No, I'm just kidding. And it was, it is a good movie. It's fun, and I've seen the remake thing that they did, the TV remake, and that was bad.
I was just like, nah.
It's not good. It's funny because Rocky Horror Picture Show is a fun thing to see live. I've seen the stage show. It's fun to see live, and it's fun to see the movie play on screen because everybody reacts to it. Everybody does things to the movie. Everybody dances at the time warp. It's a fun movie to watch together.
Everyone loves the time warp.
Everyone loves the time warp. The remake that they tried to do with a bunch of stars sucked because there's no feel. You can tell the manic energy that's going on behind Rocky Horror Picture Show, and like this whole you gotta come into this adventure, and that the remake has none of that. Like, it's just kind of like,
it seems like that
a rehash. It's just a rehash, and it's not a very good or inspired one.
I like Rocky Horror. I think it's one of those ones where I feel like I like it more every time I rewatch it. So I feel like
it's like one of those things. The first time I watched it, I was like, okay, I see it, and now after watching it like 3-4 times, I'm more of a big fan.
I feel like give it a couple rewatches, and I'll be in the cult with everyone else.
I mean, Tim Curry is absolutely astounding in it. Meatloaf is hilarious, and everybody's good. Like, everybody does a good job, and it's just the soundtrack is really hilarious.
It's just ridiculous and experimental.
Yeah,
and it's one of those things where like, it only really works as a musical to begin with.
Yeah, right? Like, if it wasn't a musical, you'd be like, what the fuck? What the fuck? But it's a good one. It's just so strange. If you haven't seen it, you'll now get all the in-jokes everyone's always saying. Yeah. So go watch it and get the in-jokes.
What's hilarious about this list is the sheer stark contrast. We're going from Rocky Horror to Singing in the Rain.
Yeah, geez, that's some contrast. But if there's a movie musical I love, that's a classic that everyone will love, it is Singing in the Rain. I love Singing in the Rain. It's so great. I love the songs. Good Morning is the song my mom would sing to us to get us up in the morning, so I hate that song. But other than that, I really do love all the songs in this musical. I think it's one of those movie musicals that moves at such a brisk pace that the great thing about a great movie musical is it can move at such a pace that you're just kind of swept along.
Yeah, definitely.
And Singing in the Rain is definitely one of those. You're like, oh, Gene Kelly's a real good singer. And then you're like, oh, that guy's a good singer. And then you're like, oh, she's a good singer. And then, and you're all the way at the end of the movie.
And then A Clockwork Orange happened and ruined everything.
Yeah, you're just like,
It's sad because I really like Singing in the Rain, but when I hear the titular song, my mind actually goes to A Clockwork Orange.
Because
it's because A Clockwork Orange is one of my favorite movies, so I just think to that first, which is sad to say, which is something Gene Kelly had a real problem with, I'll tell you what. Yeah.
Singing in the Rain is one of the, like I said earlier, one of that I said another song was one I auditioned with. Singing in the Rain was one of the songs I auditioned with to several other musicals, and I love Singing in the Rain. I think it's not only one of those great songs, but it's a great dance number. It's a great scene. It's one of those things that it could work on stage, but Singing in the Rain in a movie musical format is literal movie magic.
Yeah.
Like literal. Like it sweeps you up and entertains you, and it does everything a great movie should. You know, like, and that's why I think Singing in the Rain's one of those classics, is that it has that scene, and then it just
Could you imagine the total shit show it would be if they tried to remake that?
Oh, yeah.
It would be fucking riots.
Right? There'd be no point. There's no point. Like,
isn't that arguable every time?
Yeah, exactly.
Ain't that always the conundrum?
Ain't that way. But, yeah. Singing in the Rain, great stuff. You're a big fan, too?
Yeah, I like Singing in the Rain.
Cool.
It was never like one of my favorites, but it's always like a magical watch.
Yeah, it is.
Next one up is The Sound of Music.
Sound of Music. So this was one I was in, and what's sad is I did not. I was a chorus person, but my main role in Sound of Music was I was a Nazi. I was the main Nazi at the end of the musical. So
between this
and the other one
inspired musical, you have something you wanted to declare, Frank?
No, it was just that. So we had Sound of Music, and then we had the 10-minute plays. And we still had the Nazi uniforms from Sound of Music, and I was like, I got several ideas, and that's how we got those Nazi uniforms for Nazis Don't Dance, is we stole them from Sound of Music. But Sound of Music is, so I have a love-hate relationship with it because I've seen it so many times because I've been in it, like not only have I seen it actually on stage so many times because I was in it, but for some reason I've seen the movie endless amount of times. Mary's family, she's the youngest of 7, so they cling to the Sound of Music. They think it's about the family, like, so it's one of those things that like her family watched it a bunch. I've seen it a bunch before, and then I was in the musical, so I've seen it a bunch. So it's like, I like Sound of Music, but please don't put it on. Like, please don't. Like, I like it, but it is a long 3 fucking hours, and the movie musical is almost 3 fucking hours long, and you're like, stop. Like,
stop it. Get some help. I saw it in high school. Christine actually made me watch it like years ago, and it was like pulling teeth for me because I was just like, I don't watch Julie Andrews. Like,
Julie Andrews is fantastic.
I still liked musicals when I was in high school, but I think I was a little more snooty about it then.
Yeah,
I was just like, I don't like Julie Andrews, but this is fucking 3 hours.
Yeah.
Then she finally made me watch it. I'm like, okay, this is really good.
Yeah, and
but
it's an epic
something
story.
I want to watch all the time.
No.
So I understand where you're coming from.
Yes, it is an epic story. It's got good songs. It's got great characterization. But dear God, if I have to hear fucking Sound of Music again, I will kill somebody.
Fun fact, Christopher Plummer hates Sound of Music.
And he does such a good job.
Yeah, he's so good in it. But he says, like, not only is it, like, for him, he felt like one of his most least fulfilling roles, but he's also just kind of sick of it.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is I feel like if you're known for this, or, like, you have to deal with this play often, you will be sick of it. Like, you're just gonna be like, no, please make it stop. And it's one of those musicals that feels so long because it has several phases, and I do love it, and that's what makes it feel so structured. But also it makes it feel long when you're like, okay, now we're getting to the Nazi stuff, like, oh, now we're getting to this, like, and you're just like, okay, all right.
Once in a while.
At least,
maybe not for you anymore.
Yes,
like,
no,
you're done.
No, I'm done with it.
Many
I
times
am done with it. I am completely done with Sound of Music. I don't need it. I will be with you always, but I will not. I'm not watching it again.
We are not the same. So here we go again with like some pretty stark contrasts. Is South Park bigger, longer, and uncut? I had to. I had to add this one. It is a musical.
And it's
hilarious.
It is hilarious. It's so good.
I've seen the movie so many times. I watched it as a kid because I'm fucked like that.
Yeah. As we all did. To be fair, I watched it as a kid.
South Park was
and I was not
things.
allowed to watch South Park, but I had seen that movie.
Well, here's the thing. Anything that I was, quote unquote, not allowed to see just meant just like, oh, so watch it when you're not home? Because I was a little shithead like that. And I have the Blu-ray at home. I've seen it so
this
many times.
This movie is wild.
The songs crack me up. It's one of those things that wouldn't. I mean, it would not be. It would. What?
Sorry, I was gonna sing. What's his name's mom is a bitch, big old bitch. That's a bitch in there. Fucking love that song.
It's about as much as I'll sing.
Yes.
Don't want to get his copyright strike, especially on YouTube. Ugh.
I know, seriously.
Yeah, it's one of those things where like the songs are really funny. It was hilarious that the fact that they decided to go to a musical route with their like feature length film. It was sort of it was for like Stone and Parker for the longest time, sort of like if this had to be the end of South Park,
like, this
then
is
fine,
it.
Because they might just run us out of town after this one. But the fact that South Park is still going and is still doing well is hilarious.
And sure, it is not a timeless movie. Like
No.
it's one of those ones that makes jokes about the time it came out.
Yeah.
And if you don't know about that stuff,
I think
if you're a Zuma and you're watching it, you might not understand it all, but it's still fucking funny.
It still is pretty good about it. I think the one where it like really feels outdated is like all the Saddam Hussein stuff.
Exactly.
But
that's all I'm saying.
But aside from that, like the main pull of it is not even that. The main pull of it is like the idea of like film censorship.
Yeah.
And the fact that like language is the problem as opposed to like gore and sex and stuff like that, and how like hypocritical and how that doesn't make any sense. That's still relevant.
Yeah.
And that's great.
It's a ridiculous movie.
I mean, on a meta perspective, it's literally a South Park movie about people bitching about a South Park movie.
Yeah.
It's the idea of just like turning that into a feature film because like the Terrence and Phillips show is literally the stand-in for that.
Yeah.
It's super meta.
It is really a meta movie. It is really good though. Definitely worth owning.
Hilarious.
Moving on.
West Side Story.
So, I've seen West Side Story. Like it's
Good.
Romeo and
Good,
Juliet.
I agree.
Yeah,
that sums up my feelings on it as well.
It's Romeo and Juliet. I'm sure Steven Spielberg's going to do such a good job with his West Side Story remake that comes out next year. Like, I'm sure it's going to be fucking beautiful. I'm sure. But I don't
care either. I really don't.
I mean, we might be just two dudes here. That's the problem. I sort of wish we had my wife or a female voice to say, "Yo, West Side Story's great." Like, because every single woman I've ever talked to loves West Side Story if they like musicals. Because it's a classic. And it does.
I get
it's
it.
snappy. It moves. It's cool.
I mean, I was actually about to make a joke that it's literally just Romeo and Juliet, but with snaps.
Yes, that's basically it. That's basically it. But as a fan of Romeo and Juliet, and as I said, I even like the Baz Luhrmann Romeo and Juliet because I think it takes it. I feel like Romeo and Juliet is a dramatic film, and Baz Luhrmann brings that like dramaticness to it. And I'm not talking like dramatic in like a thematic way. I'm talking like Romeo and Juliet are whiny bitches, and William Shakespeare knows it.
But it's
like
just that whole film feels so far up its own ass,
Yeah,
and
it
then
does.
like the whole like modern aesthetic, but they're still like doing the old like
I don't know.
Shakespearean dialogue.
I think it gets me with. I think the beginning gets me so hard. You bite my thumb at me, sir. I do bite my thumb at you, sir. Like saying it in modern terms with the guns pointed at each other cracks me the fuck up. It's
like,
just
I get the intent of just like the real world parallels, but it's just like.
Yeah, I get it. But that's not a musical. We're not talking about that. What were we talking about?
We're talking about West Side Story.
West Side Story. Don't care. Moving on.
Moving on. We only have two more on here.
Yeah.
I put Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory.
Well, we've already kind of talked about Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory in our previous episode about remakes. Go check it out.
Yep.
But basically, wait, are we talking about Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory and Charlie and the Chocolate Factory? Because we should probably talk about both. They both have musical numbers that
they both
are
have
different.
musical numbers, but the thing is, the original film is much more of a musical because it involves the cast a lot more.
Yes.
Whereas with the Tim Burton film, it's more relegated to like the Oompa Loompa stuff.
Oompa Loompas
Yeah.
and Johnny Depp.
Yeah.
He sings a song at the end, right?
I don't remember.
I don't care enough to care. I just don't care about that movie enough to give
I don't
a shit.
care enough to care, Frank Duran. 2020. I don't care enough to care.
The original, always thought it is a strange musical. It really is. It's a weird one to have songs in it, and it's a weird the jumble of songs it puts together are strange also. You know, like Cheer Up Charlie is one of the weirdest sad musical songs I've ever heard. You know, like it's the only song in the entire movie that I don't like but seems important, like
that's interesting. Elaborate on that.
Really?
I'm not quite
You don't
sure
like
what you
Cheer Up
mean.
Charlie?
No, I like Cheer Up Charlie. I'm just trying to understand what you mean by that.
Well, it's such a happy movie, and yes, you're supposed to know that Charlie's poor, but it's like every other song is so like happy or like tongue in cheek, and that song's just like, I'm doing laundry.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense to like put you in the headspace of like this character because I mean, he's not just poor; he's like really poor.
Yeah, of course. It's just, I don't like Cheer Up Charlie. I just don't.
Maybe it just makes you sad.
Maybe
it means it's working.
But also, I don't think it's. I feel like it's out of place with the rest of the music. And
everything else, especially the Oompa Loompa songs, all bangers.
Bangers.
I love the ongoing meme of just like a kid brutally dies, the Oompa Loompas, and it's like some dancing bit, like with maracas and stuff like that. I love that.
It's true. It's one of those that's funny because a lot of people would not think that Charlie and the Chocolate Factory is a musical. Like they would not say it most of the time when they're listing musicals.
But it totally is.
But it totally is. And they sing, like sing the same as any other musical.
Yeah.
So you're kind of like, oh, shit. Like other than World Imagination, like most people think of
the
that.
Candyman
Can. Yes. I love that movie.
Yes.
We don't have to say it
So
again.
good.
We don't have to say it again,
Yeah.
but I love that movie.
So the last one is, and I put The Wizard of Oz and The Wiz, I guess.
And The Wiz, I guess. Another one that, I feel like I'm saying this constantly, big fan. My mom was a big fan of Wizard of Oz, but not. It's funny because it like me and Batman. It's one of those things that everybody in the family is like, oh yeah, Ruth likes Wizard of Oz. Give her all the Wizard of Oz things, And for me, it's like, oh, Frank likes Batman or likes Star Wars.
Yeah.
Give him all the Batman things, Like I'm wearing a Batman shirt right now, so I can't really talk. Like it's true. Give me all the Batman things. But my mom is not really a big fan of Wizard of Oz. It was just something they clung on to because she likes the music, but she's actually super afraid of the Wicked Witch of the West. Super, super afraid of her.
Of all things, that.
She's really afraid.
I could see her as a kid because that movie predates all of us.
Yeah.
Her being like afraid of it, but.
No, even now freaks her out.
Never showed her Return to Oz.
Yes, I was in another thing. Wizard of Oz. I was also in Wizard of Oz. I said it earlier. I was the mayor of the Munchkin City.
Oh boy.
Oh yeah. So and I had the whole outfit and everything like that. So and the solo of mayor of the Munchkin City. And I also was in a bunch of other songs. I was part of the Emerald Crew and all that stuff. I like Wizard of Oz, even though it is hokey and a little like
it's
weird.
Know,
it's because it's a classic in and on itself. Like is kind of the weird way I say it. It's like it's a classic, and that's why I'm sick of it.
Like goddamn it, it's charming and it's magical. And it's weird because The Wizard of Oz is the exact type of movie that when I saw it at the age I was as a kid was the exact type of movie I wouldn't have liked.
Yeah.
But I loved it.
Yeah. And that's because
I was a little edgelord.
It's a little dark. It's a little fucked up. Like poppies. She uses fucking heroin to put Dorothy to to sleep,
Before that, I had watched Wizard
And then the monkeys. The monkeys are just fucking frightening.
Most recently I had seen The Wizard of Oz was like a few months back with a friend who had never seen it. Which is weird because I'm just like, oh, you would love this movie if you saw it as a kid. You'd like it now. And we watched it, and there were some lines that just like cracked us up. Just like, the little dog bit me. I'm taking him into town to have him destroyed. You're like, what?
What? Yeah, I love. That's the other thing I love about the movie compared to I've seen the play Wizard of Oz several times, but the movie is so great because of the casting and everything. And one of my favorite lines. She says like at the beginning, she's like, "The little dog bit me," or she says like, "The girl bit me." The dialogue is so whip smart. I can't like recreate it because it's so that's the thing is it's got that whip smart dialogue the whole time.
I just love. I've taken the dog to the town to have him destroyed, not put down, not killed, not put to sleep. I'm taking him into town to have him destroyed. You're like, jeez. Or the fact that the Scarecrow has a gun for no reason.
Yeah, you're like, where the fuck did he get the Glock? Like,
he just has it. And it's something that no one ever remembers until they rewatch it.
So Wizard of Oz is a complicated thing for me because, yes, my mom was a big fan of it. As a young adult, I helped somebody create a musical sequel that's never seen the light of day. So it's one of those things that I have delved, and I was a big fan of Wicked. I've delved way too deep, and I've read all the books. I've read, it's like a weird thing where I try to know all I can about the Wizard of Oz, and the more you know, the more you're just like, well, this is a fucked fever dream, isn't this? Like, and that's the whole point of the movie is like, it was all a fever dream. But like, even the books give you this like weird, like,
I never read the books.
Thing.
I know that the books are like way darker as older books, like fairy tale books tend to be. But I've only seen like the original film that everyone knows. I've seen Return to Oz. It's fucked.
It's fucked.
And I've seen Oz the Great and Powerful, which is okay.
But that's the thing is, Return to Oz is more like the books. Yeah. Like that's the thing is like the dark, fucked up aspect of her just like trampling through Oz is more what the books are like than anything. And that's what Return to Oz is her just like going around being like, oh shit.
But the problem is like the original film is too iconic for us to really try and make it more like the books at this point.
No, you can't. Yeah, exactly. You can't. Like, and I really do love the Wizard of Oz, but it's one of those things that it's like so far into my psyche that I don't know how much I do like it. You know, like it's one of those things where I've spent too much time with the material that like, of course I like it. But do I? You know, like you're just like
name every song.
Name every song.
Name every song.
I could sing you every song. I was in the musical, and I really like. There's things to like about Wizard of Oz, but in all, it is a weird moral story. You know, like it is. It's a weird moral story, but I like it. You know, like I've always liked it. You know, like it's funny because. I've always liked it. I've never thought it was weird, you know, like I've always been like, yeah, that's cool. You know, like, my wife was when we did the Wizard of Oz. She was the Wicked Witch of the West, and that scared the shit out of my mom. It was so funny. She would just like come up and do the laugh behind her, scared the shit out of her. It was great. It's so funny. You're like, nice.
A relationship. He's like, my wife enjoyed trying to traumatize my mom. Like a relationship goals.
Relationship goals.
Question mark.
Question mark. Now, quick aside, The Wiz. The Wiz is.
The Wiz is something.
The Wiz is something,
all right.
If you haven't seen The Wiz, I don't know if you have to. Like, it's one of those ones where you're like, I don't know if you have to, but it is something. Like, it is. If you've never seen The Wizard of Oz and you thought, not enough soul music, you got The Wiz. Like, you know, like, you're just like, it's there.
Yeah, it is sort of like an interesting project to try to like reimagine the Wizard of Oz with like this African American like feel to it. It's so weird.
It's so strange.
It's such a strange flick.
It's such a strange flick. It's just like the thing about musicals is that they will throw the fear of being absurd out the window. And movies also have to sometimes grab that also. Yeah. And it doesn't work for movies as often as it can for plays, you know, on stage. Is that like the absurdity of something on stage can be shaken away by the actors are there in front of you, but when you're watching a movie and it gets absurd like that, you're just kind of like, what is my reaction supposed to be?
But that's it. The Wizard of Oz was the last one alphabetically.
I mean, so I'm sure there's movie musicals we missed. I'm sure there's other
we already
ones.
talked about a lot.
We already talked about so many. Thank you guys for listening. Thank you guys for tuning in. Please like, subscribe, follow wherever you listen to this podcast. Maybe YouTube, Spotify, Apple.
We're pretty much everywhere.
Yeah, everywhere you look. Please subscribe, listen, and please tell people about it, because we would love to fucking talk more about these things. Please talk to us about the movie musicals, because I have lots of opinions on these things. We could go on for a lot longer about this. Thank you guys for tuning in. I'm Yep Frank on Twitter.
I'm Moncrike on Twitter.
And you should check out galaxyofgeek.com. That is the website where we post all these podcasts and also all these articles we write. And thank you guys for tuning in, and go watch a musical.
See you next time.
Adios.